Welcome. It's 4:30 and I'm welcoming you to one of the nice TESOL webinars. And my name is Helaine Marshall. And I would like you to pass along to anyone who comes in the chat, tell them to turn off their video. That's the one thing I haven't figured out how to do except individually. And there are going to be a lot of people coming in here. I prefer if you just don't have your video. I've got you all muted. I figured that out, but I haven't figured out how to make sure no one has a video but me, okay? It's just going to be a webinar. It's not going to be an interactive lesson, which is what I prefer greatly. If anyone knows me and you know that I would much rather do this interactively, but that's not in the cards for today. This is a straight-on webinar. And it will be interactive to some extent because I'm going to be asking you some questions. We do have some polls. If you've been in Zoom before, you know that that's an option. So the way you're going to communicate is in the chat. So if someone could please put in the chat, please turn off your video when you enter the room. I'm going to use you to help me out. You're all my TAs, okay? So every now and then I'm going to ask you to put things in the chat. And I'll be drinking a lot of water. Okay, so let's get ready. Thank you, Isabel. All right, so this is going to be online flipped learning, and I have a special model that I'm going to teach you, which is called SOFLA, the Synchronous Online Flipped Learning Approach. SOFLA, everybody say it. I can't hear you because I don't have your speakers on, but I want you to all say SOFLA, SOFLA. Sounds like a dance, right? Let's do the SOFLA. Okay. Okay, if you don't know me, you probably already think I'm nuts, but if you know me, you know me. Okay. All right, now we move on. Oh my God, Pakistan, I can't stand it. All right, here we go. So I'm going to point out the nice TESOL resource page. At the bottom of the page is nice TESOL resource page. So most of you found me through that page. So make sure, turn off your video, please. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to continue with the PowerPoint. And I want to start by saying for nice TESOL a message, which is, for those of you who are looking for CTLE, if you don't know what it is, you don't need it. It's please turn off your video. It's public school teachers who have need for these special credits. So you go to this website, nicetsolwildapricot.org/join us. There's a discount code for you, join 2020, very simple. And once you're a member, then you will be authorized to count this hour as training for CTLE. You can go and apply to CTLE, okay? So there you go. And if anyone wants to copy and paste those into the chat, you can do so. The resource page is mentioned again here at the bottom. So now I'm going to give you your first poll. Let's see if you can all answer your first poll. I'm going to launch the poll and let's see how this works. You should be seeing the poll and answer the poll. Poll number 1. By the way, tell the truth. Turn off your video, please. This will not happen again. I'm doing 3 more of these. This is the first one, so I will know next time how to make sure no one's video is on. So the first poll, I'm waiting, there are 35 people. So far I have 22 answers. Let's go, keep the pace because we have a limited amount of time. Please turn off your video, thank you. Put it in the chat again, thank you, about the video. Help me out here. Danielle, come on, be my TA, I saw you're here. Okay, 33, we're getting there. Couple more people, please. Thank you, Elizabeth. All right. Oh, Kazuko, what are you doing? You're too busy to come here. Okay, ready? I'm going to end the poll now. I'm going to end it at 33. There are 37 people. Please, hi, Tilla, but turn off your video. There's so many people here I know. I'd love to say hello to you all, but please turn off your video. Thank you. Turn off your video. Thank you. Okay, I'm ending the poll. Sorry if you didn't get to participate in the first poll. And now I'm going to share the results. Okay, look. So this is online flipped learning. And online flipped learning requires pre-work. Flipped learning of any kind requires pre-work. That's the first step. If you don't do the pre-work, you're not doing flipped learning, right? So I gave you all pre-work. Half of you did it. Oh, my dear. Well, here's the link. So if you didn't do the pre-work, go and do it now. I'm going to tell you you're absolved from the first part, which is my video, because you're here. You're absolved from the last part, which is reading an article, because we don't have time for you to do that now. But there are 4 questions I want you to answer. So please answer the 4 questions. While you're gone from the room, don't worry, you're not going to miss online flipped learning. There's something else I'm going to do with everyone while you're gone. And I really mean it. I want you to go and do the pre-work, because your experience will be much more elevated if you've done the pre-work. So it's https bit.ly. You can put it, we can put it in the chat. Danielle, can you put it in the chat? Okay. Please put it in the chat. They told us to have an assistant, and now I see why. I don't have an assistant. So please put in the chat. Sorry, I'm clicking crazy here. Every time I click, it clicks. I'm still learning. Okay. So please put the URL, and if you did, thank you. And if you didn't do the pre-work, go there right now real quick and answer those 4 questions, and then come back, okay? All right, now, while they're doing the pre-work, here's what we're gonna do. So it's very important that you not be punitive in flipped learning with the pre-work, but you must be firm. So the whole point of flipped learning is that there are certain changes they have to make in the way they think about teaching and learning, and you have to guide them to make these changes. And pre-work is one of them. So if you just say, oh, you didn't do the pre-work, oh, that's okay. That's not, you'll never do the pre-work. So I'm talking to you because you did the pre-work, right? But the others didn't. So we don't want to be punitive with them, but we want them to realize they have to do it, which means that eventually they will do it because of peer pressure, because of fear of missing out, FOMO. So they're going to be on board with pre-work. That's my first point to you about online flipped learning, because when you're face-to-face, it's a little easier to enforce the pre-work. When you're online, there's that extra distance piece, but you must have them do pre-work. It's essential to making the whole thing work. Whether it's SOFLA or any other model, doesn't matter. Pre-work is essential. So I hope those of you who decided to stay instead of really listening to me and doing the pre-work, and we have the URL in the bit.ly. You see why? Okay. Now, I'm going to do a couple of things with you while they're doing the pre-work. So all of my presentations start with these 2 slides. I don't care what I'm talking about. I talk about this. This is a mantra. You're all going to repeat it after me. Create fertile spaces. Everybody ready? 1, 2, choral response. You're all ESL teachers, right? Choral response. You're going to say these 3 words. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Everybody, wherever you are, let them at home think you're crazy. Ready? Create fertile spaces. Okay. So why that? Well, that's our mantra. That's what we're here to do. And we're going to do it online. Now, it's much easier to create fertile spaces in person, but we can do it online. I'm trying to do it right now. Look at the palm tree behind me. I'm creating a fertile space. Okay, so we have 4 E's to create the fertile space. So the first E is equity. The second E, and I'll be with you in a moment with more explanation. The second is enrichment. The third is engagement. And the fourth is empowerment. This is not a webinar on creating fertile spaces. That will be a separate webinar someday when we're less urgent to get people online. But I do want to show you very quickly something that goes over all teaching of all kinds, which is creating fertile spaces with the 4 E's. Providing equity means access to instruction and curriculum and assessment. It's only the first step. A lot of people say we give the L's equity. They have the same chance as everybody else. What's their problem? You only give them equity? Not enough. Okay, next, add enrichment. Why shouldn't they get enriched education? Why shouldn't they have opportunities for guest speakers and more exciting projects? Okay, because that fosters integrative and intrinsic motivation. Then we get engagement. When people are engaged, they're more likely to participate actively and not passively. That's what we want, right? And then the final step is it will result in empowerment, which is not a transitive verb. It means ownership of learning experience, and that's our goal. We want them to own their learning experience, okay? I'm gonna try and do that with you guys, even though it's a webinar, because any kind of educational experience should have the 4 E's. Any kind of educational experience should be based on creating fertile spaces, not covering curriculum, meeting standards, and delivering instruction, especially today, where everybody's going through who knows what at home. We need to create a fertile space in which learning is magic. And we can do that for our students online. Now, I think everyone's back, and I'll start the actual SOFLA presentation. And this is poll, well, this is the third poll. Okay, so poll number 2. And now we're going to go to poll number 2. And this poll is on flipped learning, and I'm going to launch the poll. Turn off your video, please. Thank you. There you go. That person looked familiar too. Okay, please answer. All 35. Tell the truth again. It doesn't matter, right? Just say it. The polls give me a chance to drink water. Not a yellow line. How did that happen? Okay. 22 only. Please, let's move. We gotta move. We gotta move. We got a lot to get through. I'm beginning to see how this works. Perhaps the polling is tough for some people. 22 voted, only 64% of you. Are some of you not seeing the poll? Please, can you do the poll? It's important. Polls are important. That's how we interact. See, I'm already pouring more water. I have a pitcher here. See? To pour water. All right. Okay, I gave you a chance. Still only 23. Well, that's it. Okay. Somebody's drawing yellow lines. I gotta look that one up. Share results. Okay. The biggest was heard of it, but not sure what it is. So a lot of you have heard of it, but you're not sure what it is. Well, you already know about the pre-work, right? Okay. Some of you have never heard of it. That's interesting. Okay. This gives me a lot of information about who you are and what you're coming from. The 4 E's came from moi. Say moi. Okay. Stop sharing. And now we're going to move on. Okay. So the next is the definition of flipped learning. So this is the definition. So for those of you who've never heard of it or you've sort of heard of it, here is the definition. Now, definition of flipped learning, which I was one of the authors of. If you look, I should be more modest, right? At the bottom of the page, there I am. Okay, so I was on the board when we wrote this. Flipped learning is a pedagogical approach in which direct instruction moves from the group learning space to the individual learning space, and the resulting group space is transformed into a dynamic, interactive learning environment where the educator guides students as they apply concepts and engage creatively in the subject matter. Now that last piece comes from Bloom. We want them to apply concepts and engage creatively. There's that create again. We want them at the top of bloom, not just at the bottom, right, RLs? They shouldn't be stuck down there. We want to have them come up, all right? The only thing I would change if I were writing it today is the direct instruction also has to be transformed into, the out of class piece has to be transformed into dynamic interactive also, okay? Because if that's flat, that pre-work is flat, that direct instruction is flat, then you're not really engaging them. So that's very important also. Okay, there is a link here to the definition, and you can see that document. If you look here, this is the document. There's the definition. And this is the checklist. And it's a checklist of the 4 pillars: flexible environment, learning culture. Do you see how there are only 2 there? I've added a 3rd one now, which is create. I create fertile spaces digitally and psychologically, cognitively, fertile spaces, okay? The 3rd one, intentional content, and the last, professional educator. So you can go back to the internet and see that as you wish. Okay. And we'll get to that in a minute. Oh, I did stop share. That's what I'm not supposed to do. That's okay, just talking to myself. Okay, I have to go back to the PowerPoint. How do I get back? That's what I was afraid of. PowerPoint. And I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. How did I do that? All right, just a second. I'm supposed to do new share, not stop share. Okay. Wait a second. I see. Okay. Now I'm going to go back into here and share. And now it shows my PowerPoint. Sorry, guys, I'm still learning how to do this. I usually use Adobe Connect, and I've been using it for 10 years, and I've been teaching online for 20. But this Zoom business is brand new for me. So I'm learning. Okay, we did that poll. Now we're going on and we did the definition. Now there's one more poll, not the last poll, but one more poll. And this one is poll 3. This time I'm going to ask you about your delivery mode. How do you plan to deliver instruction? Asynchronously, synchronously, both, or need to consult a dictionary? Sense of humor. Do you not see the poll? The poll didn't appear. The poll didn't appear. So that's interesting. Delivery mode in progress. It doesn't, attendees are now viewing the question. It says that you're viewing the question. All right, let me end the poll and relaunch the poll. Does that do any better? Is that poll working now? I relaunched it. I need some tech support, and I'm pretty techie. I've been spending the whole day supporting other people. All right. Let's see what you've got here. It's okay if you need to consult a dictionary. Remember, we all teach L's, and they're building their vocabulary. Okay. A few more people. A few more people. Come on, guys. Let's respond. Let's go. We want to move through. Okay. All right. I'm going to end the poll. I realize there must be some people who are just not doing the polls. That's okay. It's okay if you don't do the polls. It's just that I'm trying to give you a chance. I'm going to end the poll. Okay. So you can see, oh, I can't. Okay. Now you should be able to see that most people want to do both, which is great because I think it's important to do both. Some of you are planning asynchronous, and I hope to convince you that you've got to do synchronous. You can't see the sharing of the poll. This is very interesting to me. I'm trying to learn how this works. Okay. All right. Okay. So in any case, most people said both. 75% said both. So there we go. All right. Now we did our polls. So those are some of the important things I wanted to establish before we got into the steps. And now we have the steps. So here we are. We're ready now to look at the steps of the SOFLA. So SOFLA, remember, means, someone type in the chat. Who remembers what it means? Just type it in the chat so we don't worry about our acronym confusing people anymore. And some people came in after the first slide and they may not have seen it. So somebody who remembers, could you please put in the chat? Put in the chat, please, if you don't mind. If you remember, or if you think you remember most of it, what it stands for. So these are the steps. Pre-work, you already did it. All right, sign in. Okay, now the sign in activity, we didn't do because you're not, a class of mine, but you're gonna see what the normal pattern is with a sign in activity. The closest we had was a poll to ask you if you did the pre-work and if you'd heard of Flip Learn. All right, number 3 is whole group. You'll see what that is. Number 4, we do a breakout. We're not gonna do the breakout. We don't have a time, but there are options for that. There's the share out, and then discovery, preview activity, and the assignment or follow-up, and a reflection. Those are your 8 steps. If you wanna take a screenshot, this would be the one to take, okay? I'll give you 1 second if you wanna screenshot the 8 steps. I should have a citation at the bottom. Marshall 2020 is the citation. Okay. All right. You're in on the ground floor, people. All right. Advertisement. This webinar is sponsored by Nice TESOL. Once again, if you didn't hear it in the beginning, because some people don't come in on time and I know it, if you need CTLE, join Nice TESOL. Here's the join URL. If someone is really quick and can grab that URL or type it in the chat, please do so. And the discount code, very easy, join 2020. Then you can go get your CTLE hours approved for this webinar, okay? So there you go, if you want your hours. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, because the people who need it, they know they need it. Everybody else doesn't need it, okay? It's only for certain people. I believe it's New York State public school teachers, I think. Okay, now, step 1, are we gonna go through all 8 steps? So let's go. Okay, so step 1, I have on the left, teachers. I have on the right, PD. Why? Because a lot of people who come to these webinars are teacher educators like me, or they might be professional developers that work at an R-burn. If you don't know what an R-burn is, get a dictionary, go online and find out what an R-burn is, because they are free services for all of us and they're fantastic. Anyway, if you're a PD person, look at the right. If you're a teacher in the classroom, look at the left. So what do we do for pre-work? If it's teachers, direct instruction, which is what I gave you, no, I didn't do that. I'm sorry. I gave you a Google form. I gave you a video. I gave you the PD version. Direct instruction is a video lesson. I'm going to show you a sample video lesson in a minute. It's out of class. It's flipped. Also, you have targeted embedded questions and activities. You don't just teach them the content by lecturing at them. You embed questions. Then you get the answers to their questions, your questions, and you download the data so you can analyze it, and it informs your instruction when they come to class. That's why the pre-work is so important, because it gives you the data. If you ask them 5 questions and everybody missed number 4, you know that's what you have to focus on. If everyone got number 3, why waste your time going over it? They got it. All right. And this is what I actually teach in my pedagogical grammar class. I do it this way and it works beautifully. Now, the PD folks, I don't need to talk about it because that's what I asked you to do. I did a welcome video, a Google form, asked you to read an article, and asked you to bring a plan. So that's the PD, all right? Why do I do it that way? It introduced you to me. You all saw the little video. It also made you examine some current concepts that I'm going to talk about. If you read a SOFLA article, you already have the idea of SOFLA. And then it gave me the Google form, which you filled out, gave me some information about where you're coming from so that it helps me plan the webinar to make it fit the background of the people who are attending. Okay, so that's your PD side. Okay, now I'm going to show you, I hope, I'm going to show you one of my actual videos. So these, I hope you see. Can I just have a yes here? Okay, you should see my classes in PlayPosit, which is what I use. And you can put your profile in. There's a free version, like anything else, free version, paid version. Now, I will say one thing now that I learned, people, because I've been going to lots of other people's webinars, and I'm somewhere in the middle, but I've seen some fantastic ones and some, but I learned best practice. One thing is important is to say, focus on the principles I'm teaching you, not the tools, okay? This isn't about using PlayPosit. I don't care if you use that or Edpuzzle or Flipgrid or any of them. If you choose your tools that you like, it's the principles I'm getting across to you, okay? And grade level, don't worry, I don't teach second grade. I'm not showing you second grade, doesn't matter, right? Okay, please think about that. Okay, everybody who knows what an R-burn is, could you please put it in there for her? One of you knows what an R-burn is, put it in. Answer each other's questions in the chat, because if any of you actually are my students or have ever had me for a course, you know my biggest downfall is I focus on other things and I miss the chat. Okay, so we're going to go to the flipped learning class, and we're going to go to the 3-minute version. There's a 13-minute version that I did at Nice TESOL last year with Heather Paris. Hi, Heather. Okay, but today I'm doing the 3-minute version. Now this part I'm actually demoing for you, so we're going to do the whole thing together. So you will be answering the questions, but in the chat. I'm not downloading your data, okay? So get ready to participate in the chat. This is participatory. Let's go. I hope it works, and we're going to do it. Okay. Preview, and you should see this, and you should hear this. If you don't hear it, I want to know that. Say yes if you hear it. Okay, stop. Okay, all right. When I tried it before, hang on. When I tried it before, I'm going to do the terrible thing of stop share for 1 second. I'm going to do a new share, and I share computer sound, and I'm going to try it again. Okay, let's try it again, and let's see if this time you hear it. Okay, let's see.
Pillars of flipped learning.
Now do you hear it?
And I'm Helaine Marshall, your guide.
Okay.
So let's look at the learning culture pillar. Here are the tenets of the pillar. First, that in a traditional model, the teacher is primary in terms of the source of information. But in flipped learning, we shift that instruction to a learner-centered approach. And so class time is more dedicated to exploring topics in much greater depth, and it creates learning opportunities that are very rich for our students. Students become more involved in constructing knowledge, and they participate actively in class and evaluate their learning in a way that is personally meaningful. So we're going to take a look at all of this, taking a deep dive, and here we go. Some basic principles first.
All right, now did you see the question pop out? So we have to answer that question. If you were paying attention, you know the answer. Please put in the answer. You can, put in the actual print, or you can put in, if we do A, B, C, D, you can do it that way. Put in your answer. Let's go. Put it in. Were you paying attention? Do you know the answer? You got to be active learners. I'm going to ask you questions. Which is not true. And remember, our L's, we have to teach them these things. Like, look for these tricky, ridiculous things we ask you where we put a not true. Whose bright idea was that? But this is how we have to teach them, because that's what it is. Okay. All right. That's enough of you did it. And now I'm going to click the answer. The content delivery increasing is not our goal here. So now we're going to hit submit. All right. We submit our answer and I give feedback. So I have preloaded the feedback. If you get it wrong, I tell you why. If you get it right, I tell you why. It's all preloaded so the student gets what they need. And they cannot continue my lesson until they answer the question. Then they hit continue.
Teacher talk. So the research shows that 65 to 90% of class time is teacher talk. This can be from directions and procedures, explanations and clarifications, or feedback and evaluation. So take a minute to self-assess and think about your own classes.
Okay, here you go. Teacher talk. Rate yourself. Be honest. What do you think? What percent of class time are you the person talking? Let's hear. Come on. 10, 25, 50, 75, 90. Put down what you think. We know that most people are in that range that I just had on the slide. All right, I'm taking the average. Most of you said something, I mean, that was high and low. Naturally, we're going to have that's my home phone ringing. I've got to figure this out a little better. Okay, I'm going to submit and continue. Let's go. Continue.
Our next concept is hand raising. There is some soft data on this showing that 80% of the time, 20% of the students are hand raisers. Either they're answering display questions, in other words, they know the answer, or they're providing unsolicited contributions to the instructional conversation, something they feel they want to add or say without being called on, or they raise their hand to ask a question. This could be about directions or about the content. So take a minute and think about the extent of hand raising in your classes.
Okay, here's our next question. So what do you think? What percent of the students raise their hands in your class most of the time? What percent of them? Be honest with yourself. This is a good chance for you to think about your teaching. I'm demoing PlayPosit. I'm teaching you SOFLA, but I'm trying to make it relevant to you because I believe in immediate relevance for you as teachers. So that's why I'm doing the demo lesson for something interesting for you. Why not? I'm not going to teach you the past tense. Okay. Ready? What are you putting? All right, just for the heck of it, let's put, oh, there's a range. Okay, a lot of you say 40. I'm going to put 40 and continue. Okay, here we go. We're almost done with this. There's a couple more questions. I want to get to the end. Let's go. It's reloading for some reason.
Is the way we're doing right now. They watch their video lesson and they get feedback from me on each question they answer. And you can see the green are the ones that they got correct and the red, the ones that they had trouble with. This is a question with 31 students. And also they can give feedback. So I can see their score on the questions and they can rate the video. She gave it a 5 out of 5, which is great. And then but she gives a lot of comments about what was hard for her, what she didn't understand, etc. So feedback in both directions, which enables me to differentiate instruction and scaffold it properly.
I'd just like to pause the video in the webinar here today now to point out to you, this is the data that I get on my actual students. This was a grammar class. And I was, looking at this data and you can see the green, but you can see also the red. So that's how I know what to focus on when they come to the class. I know what they did well. Also, as you see at the bottom there, as I said on the demo video that you're looking at, they give me feedback too. It's got to be both ways. How did you see the lesson? All right. What do they think of the lesson? Okay. All right.
Well, give me your feedback.
Okay. Now, this is a question for you. True or false for PlayPosit. So let's see if you understood this what Play Pause it is. Okay? So just true or false. Oh, put in the chat, please. True or false. Let's go. Whoop. True or false. Come on, come on. Let's go. Be a participant. Be active. Don't just sit there and take a webinar passively. What fun is that? Look, I had my second cup of coffee. I'm ready to go. Oh, wait, I forgot I wanted to show you. I've got my TESOL mug. Do you know you can get a TESOL mug? I'm always a cheerleader for my organization. Of course it's true. Of course it's true. All right. Well, hilarious is going a bit far. I don't want to be hilarious.
Feedback,
okay.
And we can discuss flipped learning together.
The best part is the last part. Watch. Watch the last part. The last part is, what did you think? Now you get to rate Play Pause videos. So the particular video you just watched, literally the one you just watched, what did you think? We talked about teacher talk and hand raising. Okay, so what did you think? So you either loved it, liked it, average, disliked it, hated it. Just like my students do that too. And some of them, they hated it. It depends, you know. So put what you think. Put what you think about the little, it's a 3-minute version of a 15-minute video. I clipped it. That's why it was kind of clippy. Editing is not my specialty. I did my best. Always try to do your best. It doesn't have to be perfect. The best you can do is perfect, right? Look at this webinar. And that's what I teach people. If you want to do these videos, don't be afraid. Get yourself a glass of water, put yourself in front of something that makes you feel good, and do your lesson for your students. Don't edit. I never edit my videos. And once I made a mistake and I said, did you catch the mistake? What's wrong with that? We're teachers. We're not perfect. Okay, now you get to do your feedback. The second thing, after unable to submit, unable to submit, wait, unable to submit. Oh, wait a second. Let's see what's going on. It's telling me unable to submit. You're supposed to see the next, maybe I waited too long. Let me try. Submit. It's not working. Okay, whatever, it doesn't matter. The next question was for you to give the free response, like on the slide that I showed you where that student talked about her response. So a free response to the video is the last piece. And then we'll go on to back to the PowerPoint. Okay, so give a free response to the video just to close the loop here. Okay, a free response to the video. Okay, so that's called Play Pause. And a lot of you are asking about other applications. I'm just showing you this one, again, because of the principles we're following. You can use whatever you want. Now, we're going on to the Google form. So the Google form, we're still on step 1, by the way. I'm going to race through this. I asked you these questions, and I did it on purpose because it's very important, each question. The pressing issue tells me what you really care about, what's bothering you. I know a lot of you talked in your pre-work about access. That's not my area, but I understand you need to work on making sure that your students and their families have access to your materials online. And that's very important. I'm sure there's other webinars on that. One idea, you all had a great idea for what you're already doing. It's important to say, you're not starting from scratch. You already have ideas. Then I asked you about your experience as a learner, because I want you to be able to shift the prism. Don't just think of yourself as a teacher, but remember how you felt as an online learner. That helps you to get ideas of what might be best for your learners. Think of yourself as you learned, right? Perspective. It's all about perspective. And then where are you located? Because I like to throw in one personal question. And then I do usually a word cloud or something like that, which is fun, okay? And then an insight from the reading is always important because we still want people to read and learn and be exposed to print. And so always having people read something and react, but I don't ask them closed-ended display questions. Why do that? And they might not be able to do a critical thinking question yet because they haven't had the lesson with me, the live lesson, but I want to know what they took away. I call it the what sticks piece. What sticks? Okay, now we're moving on. Step 2, the sign-in. Remember I talked about the sign-in? Okay, so many different sign-ins. It doesn't really matter what the sign-in is. This is when they come to the synchronous class. okay? The synchronous class, wherever you hold it, Zoom or elsewhere. The synchronous class is important because we're human beings. Hi! Okay, there's no substitute, and it's not that hard. People have phones. People have phones. Oh, no, don't look now. Okay, last night I asked, because I teach multicultural perspectives, what is the relationship between a deficit view and social justice in the ATO Chapter 7? Can teachers help? I wanted them to have read that chapter. Let's see if they did. They sign in on a whiteboard. You have a whiteboard. In Zoom, you have a whiteboard. Most places, you have a whiteboard. Let them collaborate. They come in, they sign in, they have to sign their name. What's that? I'm taking attendance. And if they're late and they miss the sign in, oops. So they come, my students come in on time, or maybe a little late. Actually, I have some students in here. It's very funny for me. I'm giving them the backstage. Okay. Last week, I actually asked, how has COVID-19 affected you professionally or personally? Because you have to think of the affective domain. You can't just always be cognitive. So you want to think, how are they feeling? What's going on with them? They're your students. You care about them. And so sometimes the sign-in has to be like that. 2 weeks ago, before all of this, it's actually 3 weeks ago, New York, right? 3 weeks ago. What are you planning for spring break? Well, that was when we were planning for spring break. I asked them because, again, their lives. So the sign-in can be anything. The purpose of the sign-in is what you decide the purpose is that night, but the underlying purpose is get them in on time, get them active the minute they come in, and take attendance. Done. 3 weeks ago, I've made it direct about the video. Thinking about the video for this week, what surprised you, puzzled you, inspired you? Again, a what sticks, not a display question. I don't go for that kind of question. Then we have a whole group activity. This is the dangerous one. Now, step 3 is the most dangerous step of SOFLA because you can't let it be you. It's got to be, which is why this is a little annoying for me. I want to get to know you. I want to work with you. I can't. Okay. But there are 35 people in here. Okay. Teacher-led synchronous piece of instruction, not lecture, interaction, guided by the instructor, something that we're working together. Last night in my, what was it? Second language acquisition class, we did natural acquisition versus structured classroom versus communicative. And I put a whole bunch of material items, characteristics, and the class together had to make a board where they put each one in the right category. It's a whole group activity that's teacher-led, but not teacher-dominated. And then I looked and I saw what their issues were, and I could clarify, well, wait a minute, maybe that one is structured, not communicative. And we talked about it, but they were the leaders of the activity, not, well, I was the leader in a way, but anyway, I clarified the concepts, and then this step practices and applies what they had read and worked on for their assignment, okay? Encourages them to share. That's what we do. We use the whiteboard, the chat box, audio. That's how I teach. But you have to be careful not to take over. Okay. Step 4, they go into breakouts. Okay, now I'm going to do this quickly because you already know all this. You do it face-to-face, now do it online. So you put them in groups. You can do a jigsaw. They each do a different activity and they come and they share what they each group did. Or they do the same activity. And then they compare. You could bring one group's workout and the other, and ask the other groups if they had the same or different. You compare and contrast. Okay. Accountability. Well, it depends on what you want that night. You can get group accountability. You can get individual accountability. As far as the spokesperson for the group, you can have them pick somebody, or some nights I say, I want everyone in the group to say something when your group shares. You do it. You're a teacher. You figure that part out. A lot of this is to understand, and I talk about Commons, Commons transfer of skills and all that, and the underlying piece that transfers over, literacy in one language transfer. Same thing here, you're teachers, you already know how to teach. So a lot of your skills will transfer over to online. I'm trying to give you the pedagogical principles here that work online, and a lot of it is going to transfer beautifully. Don't freak out over the tools. I have some sessions next week that talk a lot about that issue about the darn tools all the time. Okay, groupings, just like you always do. You decide on your groupings. Different times we do different groups, right? I don't even need to say a word about it. Okay, now we're doing step 4, breakouts, another option. And some people love this one. It's peer instruction. And this is the one where they teach each other a little tiny little piece, but you have to make it really small, because if it's too big, they can't, it's too much for them. But they love it. And what I have my people do is split up. You do it in my grammar class. They each pick a grammar point, and they have pre-recorded their lesson, and they pause. They deliver it live, but it's pre-recorded, and they pause to ask questions. And in their breakout group, because I don't want them to have to teach the whole class, that's a little intimidating, but they do it in a breakout group. And they ask them questions and with chat, or they speak, either one in the breakout. And then at the end, there's a quiz. And I download the data from the quiz. It's a peer quiz. In other words, the student gives the quiz with 3 questions, but I usually pre-approve the questions, make sure they're good questions. So then we get the questions, and then I find out, did the peer teaching work? Did the students learn it? And how did it go? Okay, and they get a grade. Participants give feedback on how they thought the peer lesson was. So this is because I'm in teacher ed, but you might want to try it anyway, okay? And I was going to share with you just a minute of Andrea's lesson, but I'm not sure where it is right now. Let me just see if I go to Safari and I see Andrea's lesson. All right. So do you see 3 pronunciations of past tense? Can I have a yes? Can I have a yes? Okay.
Welcome to the 3 pronunciations
Andrea?
of past tense, ED, by Andrea Nunez. So before we get started, I want to make sure that we are focused on the regular verbs, and only the regular verbs. When we want to make a regular verb a past tense, we add the inflectional ed suffix. As you can see in the words, wanted, look.
All right, that's enough of that, but you get the idea. Okay, new share. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. Okay, so they do these little videos of each other. All right, for each other. And then, of course, everything gets posted to your platform. Doesn't matter, I use Blackboard, but doesn't matter what you use. Always post everything. Be transparent. Don't hide anything. Don't hold back. They should be able to go back and see the entire course. That's the beauty of it. Record your live sessions for people who are absent. That's the way to do online learning. Transparency. I'll be talking more about that next week. All right, step 5 is share out. They come, they come back from the breakouts and they share, all right? And I've already talked about some of this, depending if they did the jigsaw or they did the same activity, but I want to add one thing about feedback. And I use this feedback model from my colleague from Morocco. We've worked together and published together on flipped learning for years. And he invented SHAC, S-H-A-C. I think he should be more well known for it, so I'm giving him a shout out here. Share, help, ask, comment. And why do you do this? Because when you tell people they're having a discussion, whether it's live or asynchronous or synchronous, if it's asynchronous, they have a discussion forum or a blog post or a wiki or something like that, or a journal even, or whatever they're doing online, and you just say, oh, you have to respond to 2 people, oh, like a comment, blah, blah. Okay, I think it works a lot better if you give them SHAC and you say, think about whether you're sharing, helping, asking, or making a feedback comment, a general comment, okay? So you decide what is best that you want to do for your peer feedback. And they do enjoy that. They like the structure of it. You know, you don't want to be too controlling or too free. You want to be right in the middle, right? And that's what I think SHAC is, in the middle. Okay, we're getting there. We have a few more minutes and we're going to do the other steps. Okay, now this one's important because you have to make a loop of learning. So the pre-work is the beginning of the loop, then they come to class, and now you're going to send them on their way. before you send them on their way, you have to make sure they're ready and motivated to do whatever's next. There's no K on shack. Now, watch. They could be in the textbook. Sometimes I take the textbook, the PDF of it, and I actually preview the book. It gets them in it, you know, and I do some discovery activities from the textbook. I pose little problems for them that they couldn't solve. I know that because they haven't done the assignment yet, okay? I teach them a few new terms so that when they see the terms, they're not blindsided and they don't, what's that? Okay, so I do that. I motivate them, I make them curious, I get them ready to do their assignment, to do what's next. But I know some of my students are here and they're saying, she didn't do that last night. We didn't have time last night. We don't always have time to do a preview of what you're going to do the following week. Okay. But I also, when I do the preview, I dip into the material enough so I get an idea of their prior knowledge, which is always something you want to keep dipping into. So even in this preview, you can get an idea of what they already know and what they don't know. Okay, so it's a very important step. Unfortunately, sometimes I have to skip it because of time, but I'm working on that and you should be working on that too. And step 7 is the reflection page. So remember the sign-in was a whiteboard where they had to write their name and I took attendance? Well, this is, are you still here? Did you stay till the end of class? So they have to write a reflection. And the reflection can't be, great class, learned a lot. And they know that, my students know that. They have to put something that they learned. It's a takeaway. And I don't call it an exit slip. I know everybody's into do now and exit slip. I do not think in terms of do now and exit slip. I think in terms of sign in and reflection. I think it's a much better frame. I want to know what resonated with them. I want to know what stuck with them from class, not a particular piece of information. You can't leave the room until you tell me this or something. I've been in so many classrooms, of course not lately, but I've been. And that's what they do. I don't care for that. So, but not generically, I learned a lot, and if I were doing a longer thing with you guys, I would show you the course and I would show you how I post the reflection pages, I post the sign-in pages, and you could actually look at some sample pages, but we're very limited in time today. So I'm not gonna do that particular sharing with you, but you can imagine that I would have the reflection page, show you some samples, but you get the idea of it. And we always post it, again, transparency. Post the reflection page because they're out the door, they're done. I want to make sure they go back and that if they want to, they can see what everyone else put on the reflection page. 1 or 2 sentences, and they must put their name, of course, because that's accountability. They're here and they learned something. All right, sample course organization. I'm not sure we can really spend too much time on that. Somebody complained the other day. I did do a webinar, a private webinar for some invited people. And they said, why did you show us Blackboard? But someone else said, I'm so glad you showed us an actual course. So I really don't know what is better. But anyway, this is an actual course. And remember, I'm not here to show you Blackboard. I'm here to show you basic principles. On the last night, I do a screenshot. That's all that is. That's Andrea, by the way, past tense, 3 pronunciations. And this is my class. There's me and my students. And this was the last night I post the reflection page. It's a goodbye page on the last night. So I posted that. But what I want to show you actually, I want to show you the student view, not my view. Sorry about that. Just quickly, I want to show you what I'm talking about posting everything. All right. And this is all my communication, links to class. You see all of that. So Dr. M's grammar videos, there they are. They can see all my videos, assignments, tests, and answer keys. Okay. This is for their peer instruction component on the left. I'm looking on the left, by the way. The middle, don't worry about the middle right now. I'm showing you the menu on the left. Online learning tips. I always give them a video at the beginning, how to be a successful online learner. I have 10 tips. I have a video they watch. And there's also a document. Everything is multiple modes. Always document, video, combination, recordings of class, the whiteboard activities, terms and concepts from each chapter, my PowerPoints, and it was a grammar class, so I gave them Jim Weaver's Don't Make Me Cry, amazing categorization of irregular verbs. Okay, now we're going to go to new share. We'll go back to the PowerPoint. So I showed you the organization of my class. Remember not to say anything about Blackboard, but to show you how I organized and put up all the material like I said I did. Okay, what happens now? Oh, step 8, we're getting there, 5 minutes. Ah! Okay, step 8 is to give them an assignment. And again, you're teachers, you know what to give them. You can give them different things to do. I like to give them a video lesson when possible. I don't always do it in every course. Readings with response, data collection. If they're doing some kind of experience out in the community, they collect data. Or I ask them to do work on their projects, various things. None of this is new. It's all the same as for face-to-face. Maybe the video lesson is the new piece for most of you. And then the option 2 is for my PD people. If you're a PD person, I like to do note to self, note to administrator, note to trainer, communicate with me afterwards. This is a PD, but it's a webinar PD, so we're not doing this sort of thing. Application of the training, I would put you in groups. How are you going to apply the training? As a follow-up, 555, this is good for administrators. What are you going to do as a result of this webinar next 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years? What are the benefits and caveats, barriers of what you learned today to implement in your context? And what are some upcoming events that you might do to extend? So this applies to us right now in the webinar, and the other one applies to you as a teacher, all right? But all we're actually going to do is we're going to say, if you need more, I highly recommend the National Geographic Learning. They have one tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, but you can watch the recorded ones. Some of the best webinars for L's, because this didn't focus on L's specifically, this is SOFLA. They're doing a great job. I have a pretty high bar for what I think a webinar can teach me, and they did a great job. So I highly recommend National Geographic Learning, Online Professional Development, these webinars. Also, please join our crowdsourcing document where you found me. Go there. You can teach too. A lot of you, I know who you are. You can do one of these. You have something to offer. Do it. Also, please join Nice TESOL. Yay! 2020. Get it? Join the organization. Okay. And there again is the CTLE. The 3rd time I'm showing it. Okay, if you're watching Laura, I showed it 3 times. Okay, beginning, middle, and end. All right. Something was not working. I don't know what. Now I'm going to show you the final poll as we walk out the door. The final poll is a reflection page. I'm going to launch the poll. Now I hope you see it. Do you see the poll? You see this poll, please? Do you see it? Yay! You see the poll. Okay, please answer the final poll. The final poll. Okay, I'm asking you whether you're going to do the reflection. Are you going to do it for the reflection? Somebody said the URL for credit is not working. I just copied it and pasted it. I apologize, but you can check with our Nice TESOL folks on that. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. Not everybody answered, but we're 5:29 and I don't want to keep you. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Somebody said, forget about it. That's a New Yorker. Forget about it. Okay, most of you said you promised, you're going to do it, and some of you said you promised. So thank you very much. I think it's important that you do the reflection, just as it was important to do the pre-work. So there's the URL. Someone please put it in the chat. This is the URL for today. I will be doing this again on Friday. Same thing, but without all the glitches. It'll be smoother. Same thing. See you next week if you want to come to the new one next week. But the one Friday's the same. Contact me, Helaine Marshall at liu.edu. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to get to know who you are. And those of you who are my pals who showed up, give me some feedback. Okay. I hope you like the palm tree and the little background stuff. Made me feel better. Bye. It's 5:30. Bye. That's it. Goodbye. We're done. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye. All done. Stop the recording. I'm stopping the recording now.